So if you remember, Lolly, in the final weekend, I believe, in our hotel, down in all the conference rooms and everything like that, they had this sort of antique show, collectibles, all kinds of stuff. The place is packed with a lot of older people who are into those antiques and collectibles and all that kind of stuff. So we're coming down for a BP in the one morning, and Elsie calls me over. And they had a bulletin board sort of with all the rooms and where everything was and what you could collect. And Elsie points at this one piece of paper, like rare, antique, or authentic Canadian pins and buttons, room 613. So I don't think anything of it. And all of a sudden I'm like, that's Eider's room.
Ladies man, but I'm unhappy now. For courting 6 girls all at once they used me.
Bye-bye baseball!
My mother said it was naughty. I should fix it but I said if it's naughty, sure it's also very
And the Lolly drops his glove, grabs Dalton. The benches are clearing.
Dust Up with Hilly and Lolly is brought to you by CoolBet. If you got a few extra bucks rattling around in your arse pocket, CoolBet Sportsbook will double your first deposit up to $200 when you use the bonus code DUSTUP. Head over to coolbet.com and get in on the fastest growing entertainment sector in the world. That bonus code again is DUSTUP, one word, all capital letters, DUSTUP. Welcome back, folks. Episode 15 of Dust Up with Hilly and Lolly, and this is going to be our final guest episode of 2021, Hilly, and I can't think of a better guy to bring on with us to ring in and cap off our first year as a podcast.
I am pumped to have Ryan Wolfe with us tonight. I'm kind of nervous. Like, it's Captain Canada. Like, it's Ryan Wolfe, one of the guys that we looked up to, one of our heroes, seen it all, done it all. Couldn't ask for a better guest to cap off 2021.
He's, simply put, he is the best ball player I have ever seen and I've ever had a chance to play with. Just a little bit of what he's done in the game. 7-time ISC champion, 5-time Canadian senior men's champion, 2-time ASA champion, 2015 Pan Am Games champion, 2015 WBSC champion, 11-time ISC All-World outfielder, to go along with a myriad of other individual awards. He is the best, and as good as he was on a ball field and as a teammate, just an even better person overall.
A tremendous friend, a tremendous leader, a great person, a player's player. Man, just a treat to have on your team, just a treat to play with. Let's just bring him in.
Can't wait. Here we go. Ryan Wolfe. Hilly, it's finally happening. It's finally happening. We got the man himself, Ryan Wolfe, on the podcast. There he is. Look at him.
Wolfie, how are you, brother? Good to see you.
I'm doing very well, Hilly. Lolly, how you guys doing?
Oh, excellent.
So bad.
We're excited, man. We've been talking to you about this one now for a few months, and this is going to be our last show with a guest on with us for 2021. We're going to do one more year in review episode to come out before the end of the year, but this is our final one, and couldn't think of a better guy to have on here with us. But in general, what's new with you, man?
Not too much. No, still teaching. Kids are busy now with sports now that COVID's, a little bit under control here now. So the kids are back playing sports. So I spend most of my evenings and weekends chauffeuring them around, but it's awesome. I wouldn't trade it for anything. They went, a year and a half without anything and missed out on a lot. So now that everything's back up and going with the sports, it's fun to see them back and going. So yeah, just same old.
You doing any coaching, Wolfie, or anything? Or
yeah, we're with the high school hockey team. We're just in the middle of tryouts right now. So we got an exhibition game tomorrow. We're going to try and make final cuts after that. And then I coach my little guy's hockey team. So Garrett's playing hockey now, so I coach him. And yeah, that's all right now.
Right on.
That's excellent. Well, now just seeing you on here for the first time, I'm a little bit pissed at you, to be honest. And I'll tell you why. the whole career, even before I met you, you're setting the example, the guy to look up to. We're going to go into a bunch of that as we go along tonight. I'm sure it's going to be a theme throughout. But you're always setting that example with the fitness testing, showing up, how to play, how to be a leader. Now you're retired, man. Get fat. You're in just as good a shape as you were when you're playing. So now this is the example. Like we're nearing the end here. Now we're looking. Let's coast into the retirement. Probably not go on the treadmill, not go in the gym. Geez, you look like you can jump back on the field right now.
No, the camera's only shoulders up here.
Hey, Homer Simpson from the waist down.
Yeah.
But it is, when I think of Ryan Wolfe, the ball player, and there's so much that we can talk about with you, both Hilly and I personally, what your career encompasses as one of the best to ever play the game, and just that example that you set. But when I think back, you were really that pinnacle for a lot of the guys that are playing on the national team now that are, quote unquote, in their prime or nearing the end of their career. Bradley, as they calls, me and Hilly, a lot of the guys from across the world. But I want to just take it to when you were on your way up, and we talked to Dale Levy and a couple other guys about when they broke into the senior circuit playing in Ontario. And that must have been a pretty intimidating environment. But how did you break into your senior career, and where did that all come together for you?
So I started my junior career. I was playing with Fingal, which was just outside of St. Thomas, and Bill Horn, rest in peace, Billy. He was pulling me up to play senior ball, like at the senior A level. I had started playing men's ball locally, when I was about 15 for a couple of different men's teams. So I'd been playing men's ball for a while, but made the jump, I would say, during my junior career. And yeah, it was a learning experience. I remember the first doubleheader I played with the Fingal team. We were playing the Owen Sound Selects, or the Owen Sound Tiremen maybe at that time. So Frank Cox and Brad Underwood were their throwers. And I remember, yeah. So I step in as a fairly cocky young ball player, I guess, maybe, and facing Frank Cox, and throws a rise ball. And of course, first pitch, I'm hacking. So I swing through it. I'm not taking any pitches. Nope. So he throws a rise ball by me, and I'm like, yeah, okay. He's not going to do that again. 2 more rise balls by me, and I went back and sat down and, took my lumps there. And of course, the next game, Brad Underwood starts. So it didn't get any better. But I was very fortunate to, play with that Fingal team, which eventually became the St. Thomas team. And in 99, we played in what was called the Molson ISC Alliance League. Owen Sound, the Oshawa Gators, Waterloo Twins. I'm facing Frank Cox, Darren Zach, Brad Baker, Grant Patterson, you name it. All of the top senior pitchers in Ontario, I was playing them in league, every weekend. Wow. And during the night, or during the weeknights as well. Wow. Again, I was a young guy. They didn't really know who I was. So I had some success, but you can only get better, being able to face the likes of those guys week in and week out.
Yeah. So I get this is kind of maybe a follow-up to that question. Obviously, and I asked this to a lot of the guys we have on here, and I have a lot of them myself. So that's why I keep asking it. But obviously you're one of our heroes and idols in this game. Like, did you have an idol or a hero that you kind of modeled your game after? Somebody took you under your wing, or that you went to the ballpark as a young kid one day and said, man, I want to be like that guy? Or did you have anyone like that?
Yeah, I think the first guy like that for me would have been Brian Patton. Yeah. And again, before I started playing senior ball, I was playing intermediate men's, in some of the same tournaments where the senior teams were playing as well. And I remember going to watch the Gators play sort of, early mid 90s, and, Patton would lead off the game. He'd single, he'd steal second, he'd steal third, and one of the big guns would drive him in, and just watching Brian Patton play. And then my first year with the senior men's team for Canada, Patton was still there, and he's always been a great influence. He's always been open to help me and teach me, whenever he could. So he's been fantastic for me in my career. And then again, my first ISCs with, I was actually a pickup with the Oshawa Gators. Charlie Hendricks was another guy on that team that really took me under his wing and was willing to teach me and talk about the game. And then the two others I would say that were really influential would be Chris Jones and Adam Smith, again, with the national team. They were very welcoming and were great influences on me as well. But I would say that first guy as a center fielder, outfielder, leadoff batter, watching Brian Patton for sure.
Nutsy, is it that they call him? Nutsy?
Yeah, nuts. Yeah.
He's a great guy. And know what I find really cool, and we talked about it on a few episodes ago, is the emergence of some of these old games from the 90s now being available on YouTube. And I was fortunate over the last 10 years to get to know Brian Patton and Charlie Hendricks a little bit well through Rob Gray and Todd Martin and that group. And these guys, when I first met them, it was meeting legends, and they couldn't have been more welcoming and just take you into the conversation, because Grazer, Marty, yourself, you're heroes of ours. And when we hear you guys talking about these guys, the way that we talk about you, it puts them in rare air. So I finally got the chance to meet them and then get a chance to see them on YouTube actually playing back in their prime. And it kind of brings it home for you how good they were. And I'm looking forward to now in the new year. We're going to get some of these guys on. I want Brian Patton on here to tell some of these stories. Charlie, Jonesy, getting to play with him in 2006. We're going to go through that. We went through it with Red last week. He was unbelievable. But Adam Smith, I don't know that well, other than reputation and getting to see him play. Ian Fairman said that he was Opie's biggest role model when he was coming up as well. But they were a pretty dynamic duo up the middle, were they?
They were fantastic. And Adam he's really quiet, really nice guy. My first year with Team Canada in 2000, Paul Rosebush and I were sort of the two young guys on the team. And, Adam and Jonesy had played together for so long and had a great friendship. And they really took both Rosie and I under their wings and welcomed us and sort of taught us the ropes. But up the middle, they were fantastic. And it was them actually where I kind of learned how intense or how the level of international play was. And it was one of the first games I was playing with Team Canada. I think we were playing Dominican Republic, and I was in the outfield. There was a pickoff play at second base, and Adam came over, took the throw. The player dove back into the base, and he basically just stomped on the guy's hand, tagged him out, and jogged off to the bench. Like, no big deal. I was like, okay, this is a different level. We're playing for keeps here. Yeah.
You talk about intensity, and you mentioned Paul Rosebush. I think it goes hand in hand. I got the chance to play with Rosie 2 or 3 years with the farm, and just one of the most intense, but very humble, very, very quiet. But like, you get him going, one of the most intense ball players I ever played with.
Rosie's one of my favorite teammates of all time. We became very close our first little while with the national team. We were roommates, and we just hit it off right away. Of course, same age, had played against each other a bit in junior, didn't really know each other, but we really hit it off, and he was fantastic and competitive as you get. I don't know if you remember, they used to call him Hank. On the farm, his split personality.
Like the guy from what is it, Me, Myself, and Irene?
Me, Myself, and Irene.
Oh yeah.
And one of the best moments, or several moments with Rosie was, and again, I don't know if you ever caught him doing this, Hilly, but it would be quiet. The umpire would have just made a terrible call or something. He'd make like a donkey sound, like a from the outfield, and it would be dead quiet every time he did that.
I got to tell you a funny story. And it's on top of my mind now. I got to tell you about Paul Rosebush. We were playing the Boys of Summer, and we were playing on the main diamond. It might have been the championship. I can't remember. So it was a farm tavern against whoever. They were beating the bejesus out of us anyway. It was like there was shots going left, right, and center. And do you remember they had that little gate in center field? They might still have it. There's like a little gate, but it's short. Some guy hits a home run and it lands just behind the fence, right? And it's like 10-0 for them at this point. So Rosie opens up the gate and he goes out to get the ball. He doesn't realize he's looking at the ball. He doesn't realize it's so short, and he smacks it short like that. So I look over. I can see the tears coming from Colin's eyes, and the big old glove over his face, and he's shaking. He's laughing that hard, and he looks at me, and I'm like a deer in headlights. And he looks at Colin. He goes, "What the fuck is so funny, you guys?" He's just flipping out. Oh my god, I lost my mind.
No, he was a competitor, and the great thing too. When I played with him in the farm, I batted leadoff, and Rosie actually batted too. Because when I joined the team, they didn't know how they were going to set the lineup up. And for me, like, wow, I get on first base. If I got on, watching the defense try to figure out how they're going to defend Rosie. He can drop a bunt down, he can slap it, he can hit it out of the yard, he can do it. They had no idea. They had to kind of hold me or protect me from stealing. So they couldn't shift the way they wanted to. Right. So having Rosie batting behind me was a lot of fun. But great competitor, great guy. Very well deserving. He went into the Hall of Fame there a few years ago.
Yeah, and he has that reputation on all levels. ISC national team is just one of the elite to play the game. But when you think about the top of the order and just how important that role is, and when you got a duo that are as fast as you, that don't strike out and put the ball in play and can use their speed to get on and can put the ball out with the best of them. It's a totally different ball game for the competition to come out. That's how you got to start the game. But one of the things that when I think about you as a ball player, and we're going to go through a bunch of different elements of your game, but I want to talk more around the speed and the fast pitch IQ for a second, because you taught me a couple of lessons as a young guy.
Yeah. We all did, Stephen. We all did.
Yeah. Some of your lessons I'm trying to forget, Hilly, but we'll talk about the ones that actually had a positive impact on me. So the first one, it kind of happened for me when we weren't teammates at ISC yet. I think it was 2007. And I was playing with Aurelia. And I think you were I'm not sure where you were in 07. Where were you?
07.
07 we were at this was 06. You were with the farm.
I was with the farm.
You were with the farm in 06. And we were playing the farm. I think it was in the Woodstock tournament or something. One of those tournaments. Doesn't matter. And I'm playing center field at this point. And you're on first base. There's a ball just hit up the middle. I'm jogging in on it. All right. I'm not going to get you going to third. And this guy's not going to take second. So I come in, I'm not walking, but then I see him take off. He goes first to home on me, and I come up, and it makes me, when you see a guy going, you kind of panic a little bit. I go fumble the ball. He scores. The other guy gets the second. I'm like, and you're walking back to the dugout. You give me a little nod to the outfield. I just tipped the cap, and I said, oh, Jesus, this is a different level of ball. Yeah. And then when we were playing with you, I think in 08, and I seen you do it, I think 2 or 3 times when you went second to home on a pass ball. It just doesn't happen on the fly. These things got to be kind of pre-planned in your head. But when I think of you, you're always thinking about something a little bit more than the average person is. Is that something that you've had from a young age, or is that something you just kind of developed a little bit more over the years as you started playing at a high level?
Yeah, I think, obviously the speed was always there. So the base running was a huge part of my game. But over the years, I learned how to sort of take advantage of the speed and use it to my advantage. Yeah, I remember the one where I went home on you, Lolly. And again, I did that.
Lolly plays first base now, Wolfey.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I did that several times. But there are certain things that I'm looking for in that play, and dropping the hands, stepping with the different feet, and then basically for me, I always kept moving. I never stopped. And if I got far enough down the line, where it's you now have to react and make that throw, there's a lot of things have to happen for the fielder. They've got to make a good throw, and they've got to tag me, and I've just got to run 60 feet. And by this time, if I think I'm far enough down the line, I'm probably only happen to go 45, 48 feet.
Right.
And then, the home or the second to home on the pass ball happens occasionally. I'm not sure. I've done second to home on a sac fly too a few times.
That is freaking crazy.
Not many of us can do that, Wolfey.
No, I know, Hilly. You've
Us,
got
he
stories
says,
for
right?
this too.
Yeah. Many of us.
Yeah.
There we go.
But again, it's got to be certain things have to be in play. And I remember I did it. I think you might have been. It was in Midland at the ISC's Midland. I think Denny was coaching third, so I remember it was a deep fly ball into the right field corner, and I just knew, like, in that situation, one, they're not going to expect, so they're going to come up, just throw into second, trying to maybe get the runner from first. Okay, and by that time, I'm not stopping. I'm making that turn and making them make two good throws to get me. Plus, again, also, no offense to second baseman out there, but the stronger arm in the infield is going to be on the left-hand side of the infield. So, second baseman's arm's probably not as strong. So if they're going to make that relay home, one, it's going to take the right fielder some time to, stop and make a throw. So it just gives a little bit extra time. So,
yeah. But just one, it's a very rare play. Not a lot of people do it. Not a lot of people have the guts to try it. But let alone in a big game, in a big tournament. And then if it goes wrong, you lose a run, maybe you get an out. It could have a negative impact. But if it goes right, the jolt that it puts into the lineup and on the bench and just gets everybody up is one of those special plays. And how demoralizing it is for the defense that allowed that to happen. It's a game-changing play, even though how rare it is. But you pull that off in an ISC, I think it was a playoff game that you pulled that out. Yeah. And it just goes to show one of the special Ryan Wolfe moments that puts you a little bit head and shoulders above everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if it went the other way, we wouldn't be talking about it. Got lucky.
Well, Denny would have tore in. Did you remember in 2008 when I got up and I swung with bases loaded against Jeremy Manley on a 3-0 count because I had his changeup picked?
You had him picked, yep.
And I popped it up to first base. And I think Denny's hat is still under the dirt at the Kimberly ball field. And and he came in and he'll tear a strip off you if he got it wrong. But he had us back. Yeah, it was pretty good.
But I think later in that game you also did the same thing and hit one out too, if I'm not mistaken.
That did happen. So there was redemption to be had, but in the moment you feel as small as an ant.
For sure. Yeah, which is a good segue for me because enough of that running and defense is for the birds. Let's talk about hitting.
Okay. Yeah.
So, like, I know, and I'm like you. You mentioned earlier you love that first pitch. So, like, what is your philosophy? And I know different situations call for different different thinking and stuff like that. But what is your philosophy coming to the plate? Like, talk about that first pitch you love so much.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, obviously trying to hit the ball as hard as I can. Yeah. Most pitchers don't want to fall behind, so they're coming at you. And, obviously there are certain situations where you need to get in, get your timing, get comfortable in the box. But for me, especially later in my career, I knew how most pitchers were going to throw me. I knew how most catchers were going to call a game against me. You get three hacks, you get three strikes. I'm going to hack at most. I was sort of I was not the typical leadoff batter in terms of I wasn't working many counts. There'd be lots of games.
Just aggressive.
I'd have 4 at-bats and would have seen 4 pitches. It doesn't always work out, but
3 for 4. Yeah. So, I mean, and it's tough because you figure out patterns and routines because especially at the top level, you're playing against the top dogs every weekend, right? So like I say all the time, there's only so many tricks, up, down, change, scattered curve. If you're, did you ever have like a hitter's version of like the black book, or did you chart any pitchers, or was it just kind of memory and relying on the patterns and stuff?
Yeah, I never really wrote things down for the most part. Obviously later in the career when we were playing a lot of international ball and we were doing more scouting, then taking some notes, most of it was, just memory. And, I'd over the course of my career, so many at-bats against all the top pitchers, right? And the catchers too, really. I knew my weaknesses and most of the teams out there knew, my weaknesses as well. So you got to, figure they're going to work to those as often as they can.
Right. This is probably a small list, but like, is there any pitchers out there that gave you the fits, or the ones that you didn't have a lot of success against? Or
Marty.
And
Marty was tough. And for me, as you guys brought, like as an aggressive hitter, pitchers with a great changeup are tough.
Yeah,
and Marty was one. Yeah.
No,
yeah.
You don't, man. You don't. You say the word poo like this, poo, when you're throwing your changeup. I got you picked, buddy.
Yeah. No, so Marty, obviously, because he would throw me a change first pitch of the game, 0-2, 3-2, he'd throw any count in any situation, so for me, you can't, sit or
That's right.
or wait on that. So Marty was obviously very difficult. Obviously Adam, full card was just next level, when I was playing against him. Those two come to mind right off the bat. Although I always preferred if they were just coming hard, if they didn't have a change up, here we go, bring it.
That's right.
And let's go at it. But I would say, Marty will love to hear this, but he really was, and it wasn't just his change. He had great stuff all the way around, and he was smart and didn't really create those sequences that you could pick. But his changeup was the game changer against me, I think.
Right.
Yeah, a guy with a really good changeup, for me, the best way I can explain it just changes the way you stand in the box almost, in the sense that you're not as dug in. You're not as just, like you said, with the pitchers that don't have a changeup as one of their primary pitches, 90% is going to come hard. It's pitch speed versus bat speed. Yeah, let's go. Let's see if I can pick it up before it moves too much. But when you get a guy like Marty, a Devo, a Sean Cleary, some of these guys that have Mata, these guys that got great changeups, it's tough to keep your hands back. But it's tough to sit back and not make that first step. Which, when I think about you as a hitter, because you have a unique stance. It's not one of the ones like a Patty Shannon where he's standing in the box with 1 foot out, or Bradley where he has his hands up over. But you really overemphasize the front foot closer to the plate than your back foot. And was that something, again, that evolved over time, or is that something you took with you from your whole career? And why did you approach it that way?
Yeah, I don't. It's sort of something that was, over my whole career, I kind of batted that way. To be honest, one of my sort of idols in terms of baseball when I was growing up was Ricky Henderson as a leadoff batter. And if you look back to his batting stance, it was, somewhat similar, sort of, slightly straightened front leg, leaning back a little bit. So I guess I would have sort of been patterned a bit after Ricky Henderson, I guess, if you want to say. But it's just what I felt comfortable. You talked with Bradley about, it's all about being comfortable in the box. And I knew that it probably wasn't the greatest stance, but it had always worked for me. So, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, kind of thing. Yeah,
absolutely. And you mentioned earlier about when you were breaking into that Ontario league, and some of the pitchers didn't know who you were. So you had some success just based on, they don't know what your strengths are yet. Yep. And especially a guy that swings at the first pitch the way you do. And we've had a lot of interesting conversations with Colin Abbott about this. And one of the best pieces of advice he's given to us and a lot of other ball players was when we were on the way up and having that success, because we were getting our pitch all the time. He said the hardest adjustment to make at the high level, and if you want to play, the hitter's the one that needs to make the adjustment. Because as soon as they start figuring out what you can hit, you're not going to get your pitch anymore. And did you have to go through that adjustment yourself from when you started to get noticed on the scene and pitchers starting to throw you differently?
Yeah, no, for sure. Like my first few years, I remember countless pitchers, not knowing who I was and me getting a couple hits early in a game. And obviously the good pitchers are going to make those adjustments and they're going to pick apart your swing and try to find those holes. And it's exactly right. And Colin and I had the same conversation. Abby and I had great conversations over the years, in the outfield. I remember we got in trouble scolded for one. It was my first time with the national team. Before we left for South Africa, we were playing out in Nova Scotia doing a little tour. And I came in. So Hilly, earlier when you talked about swinging at the first pitch, I came in a pinch hit situation, hack at the first pitch, and I pop out. So we're going out for the third out. So we're going out into the outfield, and Abby, the leader, the great guy that he is, he calls me aside and he said, you know what, there are situations, he goes, I know you're an aggressive hitter. There are some situations where taking that first pitch, getting your timing down, getting comfortable in the box, is something you probably should be doing. So we were standing, warming up, just sort of tossing the ball 10, 15 feet away, having this conversation. And when we come back in to the dugout, Terry Bader's waiting for us. And he's like, there's no bow on that jersey and there's no pig on that jersey. You're here representing Canada. When you go out there to warm up, you warm up. Don't just, get out there, throw the ball around, look like you're doing things right. We explained that we were talking ball and it was situational stuff, but yeah, he still wanted you to go out there and, look the part, be professional. And, but yeah, Abby had that advice for me over the years and knowing or letting me know that pitchers are going to start making those adjustments and I'm going to have to, make those adjustments to counter.
He was like the total opposite. Hey, like he'd always take the first pitch for the most, like 95% of the time. And and I don't know. I was always in the mentality, and I could be wrong. I don't know, but you do it, so I can do it. I said, if the first pitch is a strike, I mean, like most times, and all of a sudden, okay, you're going to take that pitch, but like, I'm not calling Abbott. Now I'm down 0-1. And that's that could be the best pitch I'm going to see that at bat.
Yep.
Right. And
absolutely.
I don't know. I was always to the mentality, if I'm ready to go and he throws me a strike, I'm swinging.
Yeah.
Right? And that was
and it's something because I'd gone through that as well because I love hacking at the first pitch. Probably because I looked up to you so much.
You love hacking at them all.
Well, but that's where I went with
that's
it.
That's right.
This was my evolution as a hitter in a nutshell. You go trying to emulate what the best hitters that you know and look up to do. So here I am. We got Ryan Wolfe, captain of Team Canada, hacks at the first pitch. I like that. Bombs everywhere. Perfect. Then I got the other captain of Team Canada, Colin Abbott, hometown hero, doesn't swing at one. And I'm here in the middle. Geez, do you half swing at the first pitch? Like, what do you do? And then it mind fucked me a little bit, where he just said, I got to the point where try not to chase the first pitch if it's not a strike. But it was, if it's coming, this is the hitter I'm going to be now. Unless for some reason he's throwing a lot of really good changeups. That would be the only point right now where you get a really good changeup pitcher that might start you off with a filthy changeup and you're coming out of the shoes, hits the top of the bat, spins back to the pitcher and you're out. That adjusts for the first pitch then. But I'm like you, Hilly, because there's nothing worse. You get in, right? You're comfortable. And you say, all right, I'm going to take this pitch. And low lifter right down the middle. Yeah. And you're just, and then you're like, well, why didn't you fucking hit that out of the park, Steven? Right? And then the rest of your bat's gone. Right?
I get caught doing that too. Like sometimes my first couple at bats, I'll go the first pitch and I'll ground out or I'll pop out, both at bats. And then my third at bat, you know what? I'm just going to take a pitch here now and try to work and count. Sure enough, low rise right down the middle. Like it's just, softball gods are toying with me. Some weekends.
Yeah.
We see comparisons to baseball, comparisons to some of the other hard sports in the world. Hitting 88 mile an hour fast pitch softball against the best in the world is one of the more difficult things to do in sports. And there's so many different ways you can plan to approach it, but it's a lot of the time is just picking up the pitch and pulling the trigger when you see it coming in. But on the hitting side of things, Wolfey, you've got the opportunity to play with and against the best from all over the planet. And when you think back on some of the great hitters you've either played with or against, doesn't matter really where they're from, was there anyone that you were playing with that you learned a lot from a hitting standpoint, or that you looked across either the other national teams or other ISC teams that you said that this guy is the standard?
Well, Abby, obviously is at the top of that list. I think, and Hilly, you can attest to this as well. My years with the farm and the farm, I think, maybe had a, misrepresentation. We're always laughing, joking around in the dugout with the farm. But what a lot of people didn't see was, Todd Budke, Colin Abbott, Rob Gray, Dean Holine, Keith McIntosh, talking hitting. Like, it wasn't just all the joking around or the, you hit a ball to the warning track and, Todd Butke's there trying to, press the weights, spotter, asking for a spotter or, Abby, one of Abby's great lines was, you'd hit one to the fence and come in and sit down and everything would be quiet. And he would have already hit one 300 feet earlier in the game. And, come on, guys, let's play a little small ball. No one's getting it out of here today,
Yeah.
But listening, just absorbing, being that sponge, listening to those guys talk ball or talk hitting. And then I would say my early years with Bo, I played with Mark Sorensen, Jared Martin, Thomas Macchia, and you talk about,
Hall of
how
Famers.
Hall of Famers, their approach to the game. They all had different approaches to hitting. Jared Martin was a guy that would take the first pitch all season just to set up a pitcher for a big game,
That's
and then
crazy,
they would
crazy.
lob one. He would take first pitch, wait for a strike. He wouldn't swing until he had a strike. But then you come to a big situation in the ISCs, pitcher lobs that first one over the plate and he knocks it out of the yard.
Crazy.
And Mark Sorensen, everyone considers Mark and Colin the two greatest hitters of our era for sure.
Marty Kernaghan, Mark Sorensen, and Colin. That was the three names
those
that
are
you
the
hear
three. Yeah.
most times.
Yeah. And I didn't get the chance to see Marty Kernaghan play, but again, when he was coaching us on the national team, wow, a book of knowledge, and he was fantastic to pass along that knowledge. So
another intense guy.
Yes. And Ray Tilly.
The whole coaching staff.
I was just scared of him. I was just, I was like, is he happy? Is he sad? Is he mad?
Mm-hmm.
Is he looking at me? Is he looking at me right now, guys?
Yeah.
But playing for Broken Bow, I never got the opportunity to play for Broken Bow. I mean, it's obviously a famous, one of the best fast pitch organizations in our game. Doc Simmons, I don't even know if I've ever had a conversation with him. And Lolly, did you ever get a chance to play a bow, or did you almost get a chance to play with Broken Bow? Or
Yeah, I had one conversation with Doc Simmons, Hilly, and it went a little bit like this. I think it was going into 2011 season, and I was joining Jarvis. It was kind of a done deal. I was going to Jarvis, leaving Chicago, New York, and then I get a call. It was a beautiful evening in Newfoundland. I was having a great day up until that point, and I get a call, and it's Amsterdam, New York comes up on the flip phone back then, and I said, "Hello." I said, "Yes, Steve. This is Doc Simmons, Ron Simmons." I said, "Oh, how are you doing?" It's good. Just wanted to let you know that Wolfey's coming back, so Prawn's a spot now, and we're gonna have to cut you. Okay. Fuck. Back to the drawing board, right? He said, then I remember Steve Kuzer called me after. He said, "Lolly, I was looking forward to having you on the team, but it's Ryan Wolfe, and Wolfey is Doc's boy, and Wolfey is Wolfey." And what do you say in that point? Okay, if you're gonna get cut for Ryan Wolfe, I say.
That's right.
Yeah, but just on that, Wolfey, because I have it written down here. When you look at some of the franchises that you've played with, right? Some of the most storied fast pitch teams ever. You got Broken Bow, the Farm Tavern, Kitchener Twins, and the Jarvis Travelers. And you've been a part. You have seven ISC championships to your name. It's insane. We're going to go down through the resume, but I don't have enough wind in me to get through all your accomplishments right now. But 7 ISC championships, that is a testament to your career as an individual player. But we all know that you don't win that much at that level without being a part of great organizations and great teams. And I just want to stick to the Broken Bow side of things back then. So you played with Broken Bow from 2000 to 2004. And this is, from our opinion, when Hilly and I just really got entrenched into the ISC as 19, 20-year-olds. And we're down just taking this in. But when Broken Bow and County Materials and the Farm Tavern back then, this is a heyday. And what was that era, those 4 years playing with Bow and some of the success you had? When you look back on your Bow days, what comes to mind?
A lot like you guys talk about with, your Hill United team and just the family environment and how much of a team we were. We did everything together. You know, and Doc, I can't say enough good things about Doc Simmons. He's treated, you know, me, my family, just like gold. You know, ever since I've known him, we still stay in contact. But he ran a tight ship. He ran a professional organization, and he expected you to show up and play. And he was very clear about that. You know, his first speech every season was, if you wake up in the morning and you're not ready to play, to come to the diamond and give it your all, just leave your uniform at my door and move on.
Wow.
You know, so he had very high expectations of what, you know, how we needed to perform, how we needed to show up at the ballpark. And, you know, again, studied the game, scouted teams. You know, he was always 24/7. He was thinking ball. But we had we maybe didn't have the superstar lineup, maybe like County did at that time. But we had players that knew their role, played their role very well. And, you know, obviously Musi at that time, Musi in the early 2000s was,
that helps.
You know, yeah, that helps for sure. You know, I still remember our first ISC championship in 01. We were playing the Farm in the finals. I think Abby drove Grazer in the top of the first to score. And we really didn't panic. We knew we were going to we were just so confident that year, hitting the ball so well. We didn't panic. We ended up, I think, winning 6-1. We knew Musi was going to shut the door. It was just a really great time to be playing. County was fantastic. The Farm was fantastic. You know, you had the Smokers. There were, 8-10 quality teams back then that could play and could challenge for the ISCs. But my years with Bo were fantastic and really taught me, how to approach the game the right way and what it means to be a team and why, having that team chemistry is so important to win championships.
Yeah. Back when Hilly, you'll know this better than me. You got the softball memory. I think it was 2004. Was it Fargo, North Dakota, 2004?
Yep.
I remember you and I were out on the outside by the beer tent and going to watch the championship game. And I can't really remember. I think we had to leave at a certain point, and we were out in the parking lot. But I wanted to talk to you about this game in particular. Was that you guys versus the Farm, then Wolfey, or were you with the Farm in North Dakota?
No, I was. We played the Farm the night before.
Was that when you made the catch, the diving catch to extend the game?
No, that was in Eau Claire in 05, and I was with the Farm.
Okay, that's sorry. So there's the softball memory, right? That's why I throw all these historical facts to Hilly. But the game that I'm talking about right now is the 2005 Eau Claire game when you made this incredible catch. And that game was a historic game. What do you remember about that one?
Well, that we lost.
It was I was going to say it was a tough one, but
it was a heartbreaker. We were up 3-0 going into the bottom of 7, I guess. Yeah.
7, last inning, yeah.
Yeah, and Guru had thrown his heart out. He was still pumping. He threw a 3-2 pitch to Jared Martin that was just above the belt. Could have gone either way. They called it a ball. So he got a walk. And then I believe Patty Shannon came up and hit a 2-run home run. And Donnie Hale came up after that and hit a solo shot to tie it up. And then they loaded the bases, 2 out. And I think it was Thomas Macchia hit a blooper over short or shallow left center field. And then I came in and I had to make a dive, or I made a diving catch to extend the game. We ended up losing in extra innings, but that was a tough one. But, again, against good teams, you make a couple mistakes and it goes the other way.
Peterson, Rod loved Eau Claire too. He loved playing Eau Claire. Remember the Eau Claire Classic? That was his baby. He wanted to win that one just as bad as the ISCs.
Oh, he did. Yeah.
That was, for me, at that stage of the game, softball can't get any better than what was on that field at that time. And it still stands to this day, the talent that was out there. But that play in particular stands out to me because we talked about when we recapped this season when we were playing down in the ISC and what Bradley did down there. Yeah. Making some of these big catches where he jumped over the fence. Then he comes in and he hits a home run to put the team up. And it just makes me think of you because he'll come out flat out and say it that you're his hero, considered the best player he's ever seen play, and the guy that he modeled how he wanted to play the game around, but it's pretty cool to see that passing of the torch, I guess I could call it, from the example that you set to now having a guy like Bradley Ezekiel coming up, trying to mirror himself and make his own path as the fill in that Wolfey void out in center field. But when you look at a guy like Bradley Ezekiel coming up behind you, do you really have an appreciation or understanding the influence that you had there?
No, I don't think of it that way, but I love, Bradley's fantastic. He's one of my favorite players. To be honest, got to play with him, when he was young. He joined us with Kitchener, with the River Shark Twins, and he just came in and listened and did what he needed to do and performed. And to see what he's doing now, by the time his career is done, if my name's even included in the same sentence as his, I'd be honored, because, and it was awesome to see what he did at the ISCs to show, because everyone talks about his hitting and how, phenomenal of a hitter he is, but oftentimes his defense gets overshadowed because he is such a dominant hitter. So to see him contribute on both sides of the ball was great to see, and I couldn't be happier, for the success that Bradley's having. He's a great young guy. I guess I'll always consider him a young guy, but he's not as young as he used to be when I first started playing with him. But yeah, he's a fantastic ball player, and deserves all the success that he has as well.
Yeah, I mean, hitting, obviously one of the best hitters in the world right now, but his defense is unreal, man. I get to see it every week down at Lions Park, and there's basically one rule in the league: if you're on third and there's a fly ball to center field, it doesn't matter where it goes. If Bradley's out there, you're staying, because he has a cannon of an arm and it's accurate. But he's smart. You talk about ball IQ, like he's everything from his footwork to running into the ball. It's the little things, right? We try to teach the kids as well. It's the little things, that make a big difference in this game. You talk about going from first to third and second to home on a fly ball, right? Like it's the little things, the footwork, the mechanics, right?
Yeah.
But he got it all, man.
Yeah, he's a special player.
Yeah, he absolutely is, and a lot of that has to do with the example that you set. But when I was thinking about you coming on for your episode now, it kind of made me smile. But it's good. You're coming on episode 14 now, I think, or 15. You're going to be episode 15, because oftentimes I look back and I kind of feel bad for Grazer and Robbie O'Brien coming on. Two of our good buddies, give us a shot. Get in there. We don't have a clue what we're talking about. We're trying to figure this thing out as we go. So we're feeling more comfortable doing it, and it's great to have you on, on episode number 15 rather than episode say 2. But with that, there's a lot of stories that we tell that you would have been a part of those stories. But and a couple of them, it's almost like a new story, same situation, same ball game, same tournament. But we like hearing the different perspectives. So there's going to be a couple of stories that I want to go through now that we've touched on other episodes of the podcast, but really excited to get your take on some of these moments. And our last episode, we talked to Dale Levy about 2006, right? And that was the first time I got a chance to play with you. This is at the Nationals. And I remember warming up with you when you finally came in on Thursday, wherever it was. Yeah, you had something important to do, I'm sure. But it gave me my shot out in the outfield. But then I'm lining up to have a catch with Ryan Wolfe. Like, holy fuck. That was the thing that I was most nervous about in that tournament. I didn't want to throw the ball over your head. Same thing. And when we got on the national team, I think I told the story before, but I'm just there trying to laser focus, just hit you right in the chest, right? I bet you he thought that was a good throw. Probably hurt his hand with that one, Ollie. Attaboy. Right? But when we got out in the outfield, they call us, because now you're co-founder of the 777 Assholes, Wolfey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was a pretty special moment, and just it's topical now. We talked about it with Dale Levy. We're recording this on the night before Red's episode comes out, but what do you remember from that game?
One, the umpire was calling the strike zone about 8 inches off the outside corner, so it was impossible to hit Guru that day. But the play late in the game, I can't remember when it happened, and Jonesy did what he always does, his softball IQ, and, ran interference or made contact with the runner. And then he called, for a protest, and Jonesy knows his stuff. Like that was all the years I played with him, trying to absorb, what he was talking about and situational play. But you and I, left center field, I think it was, we take a knee and we're just sort of hanging out watching the things, and the crowd went bonkers. They turned on us. And I didn't know if we should have made our way to the dugout. I didn't know if we were close enough to the teammates.
Yeah, it was.
They were getting a little aggressive with us. Yeah, and we were the 7-7 assholes, and
That's awesome.
it's
Yeah, we still think Red and I think Hilly was the one who started that chant after hungover as a dog. But anyway, I just
it was a hostile environment, and then Red comes in the extra innings and hit one that maybe he's just landing.
Yeah.
It was one of the biggest bombs, and what a great way to.
But that was a really cool party, right? This is the thing we didn't touch on in Red's episode. Yeah. So that was Chris Jones's last game, last ball game, and he went out a national champion. That was a big deal. It was the only time I've ever had a chance to play with him. But we went back to the hotel that night down in the conference center. We had the guitars going, and everyone just sat around in chairs in an empty conference room. And you could just see the reverence for Jonesy and what he meant to the game, what he meant to that organization and the players on that team. And it was a really cool way to send out one of the best players to ever play.
Yeah, it was. And it was, you're right. He definitely had a reverence with that group. He had some of those guys from St. Thomas had played with him a bit in Kitchener, and obviously I had played with him in the national team, and some of the other guys had played with him in the national team as well. So Jonesy very well respected in the game, and it was nice to see him go out, and we were singing some songs to Jonesy the whole week there, and it was good. It was special.
Well, folks, we've been involved in a lot of tough games over the years. And after those, we like to debrief with an ice-cold Miller Lite. With its great Pilsner taste and only 90 calories and 3 grams of carbs per serving, after every tough game, it's always Miller time. Please drink responsibly.
What did your road to the national team look like, Wolfey? You said 2000 was your first year, South Africa?
Yeah, 2000 was my first year. So, as we talked about, 99 was that Molson ISC league. Right. And I came on the scene. I had a real good summer that year playing in that league. The Oshawa Gators at the time picked me up to go to the ISCs. Thinking back, I had the opportunity to go either with Kitchener or the Gators, but I thought, hey, the Gators, Darren Zach, Brad Baker, Jody Ite, Paul Rosebush, Jerry Chalice, Chris Jones, Adam Smith, the whole crew, and Chuck Hendricks. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's a pretty good lineup. I knew they sort of had their lineup, and I was going to come in, maybe off the bench. I thought I would get my opportunity at some point. I never really did. So I didn't really get to play that ISCs, unfortunately. So anyways, the following year, I get my first invite to a national team camp. And Lolly, you'll appreciate this. I don't know if you know this, Lolly, but you're not the only player that's ever dislocated their shoulder at a national team camp.
Oh, wow.
Okay. No, I didn't know this.
So
you could have told me that the day it happened.
Yeah. Well, mine actually happened on the field. So
I was playing basketball with Dean Holine. All right.
Yeah.
You good.
But going into my first national team camp, 2000, and it's a ISF year, or a WBSC year. Back then it was ISF. Yep. So I'm thinking, they just won the Pan Ams the year before. They've got their squad. I'm coming in as a young guy. And, we do a couple of sessions, in the gym, hitting off the tees and stuff. And then we play our first inter-squad game. First at bat, I hit a double. My second at bat.
First pitch.
Might have been. Second pitch. Or second at bat, first pitch. I hit one into the gap, and I come around second base. Outfielder bobbles a little bit, so I take off to third. Third base coach wasn't really telling me anything. And then last second, I see the third baseman sort of reach to the outfield side for the ball. The throw is going to be close. So I sort of, last minute sort of slide to the outside and pop my shoulder out. So I'm laying there on the field.
Nothing worse.
No, I'm laying there on the field, and I know it's not good. And all of a sudden I see, and I remember her name was Joy Brooks. She was a physiotherapist for the team that year. And I see her come running across the diamond. As she's coming across the diamond, she's kicking her shoes off. And I'm like, what is going on?
Not going to be good.
No, this can't be good. She plops down on the ground, grabs onto my arm, digs her feet into my chest or into my ribs, and then pops my shoulder right back in on the field.
Wow.
And I'm just staring. I'm not looking at them. I'm looking up at a few of the guys that are hovered over me. And all I see is they just go, oh, they're just completely grossed out. They just watch the shoulder just go up and over and back in. And so my camp's over. So I go to the hospital. I'm done. I'm walking around in a sling. And I stay for, a day or two. And I finally went. It was in Oshawa. And I finally go to the coaches. I'm like, I'm done. I'm not going to be able to play the rest of the week. I'm 2 hours from home. I'm just going to head home. And they're like, no, just hang around. You got nowhere to be. Just hang around and hang out with the guys and enjoy the week. So I'm like, okay, no problem. So end of the week, coaches meeting, all the player meetings. So I go in and Terry Bader says to me, he says, this was, I would say, early to mid-May. He says, we leave for South Africa early July. You have your shoulder ready to go. You're on the team.
Wow.
And I'm like,
wow,
totally blown away. I had no idea that was, even an option. I thought I was completely done, 2 at-bats. But as I said, I had a real good summer the year before, and they'd see me hit off top pitching. And so basically from there, it was rehab every day. And I started playing with Bo. That was my first year with Bo. I started playing probably mid to late mid-June, I guess. And then we did a tour of BC and a tour out east before we left for South Africa. And that was kind of how it started.
Wow. What was South Africa like playing in there? It
was different. So long ago, and I was just in awe of everything, the team that I was on, Corey Guru, Todd Martin, the outfielders, the 5 outfielders we had, Colin Abbott, Brian Patton, Rob Gray, Paul Rosebush, and myself were the 5 outfielders.
That's incredible.
But it was okay. It was a little bit different. Obviously we had some difficulties with the food. Our first location we stayed, the food prep wasn't what we were accustomed to. And I remember the first day of batting practice, there were several of us were racing, to find the closest washroom because, the guts were churning and things weren't sitting all that well. But it was a great experience. For sure, playing with the group of guys that I got to play with, similar to some of the places, we played internationally, some razor wire around some of the complexes and stuff like that. But it wasn't, quite to the extent of Guatemala and those places. But definitely some areas, some situations where it wasn't safe. I remember when we were leaving to go to South Africa, we left out of New York and we got delayed for 2 hours on the tarmac. So we had to land in Johannesburg and we missed our connection flight because we were playing in East London, South Africa. So they took us to a Holiday Inn. They were putting us up for the night. And I remember the U.S. team was with us as well. And a few of the guys in the U.S. team were like, yeah, we're going to go for dinner. We hear there's a casino nearby. And the hotel staff said, go to your room, close the door, stay there till the morning.
No way.
And they're like, so I listened to them and I went to the room for the night and curled up in a ball and waited for the morning.
Like Hilly in Colombia.
Yeah. But and they're like, no, we're just going to go get something to eat. And they're like, no, you're going to go to your hotel room, close the door, and we'll see you in the morning. So, obviously not the safest place for us to be, but it was overall, it was a great experience and a neat country to see.
Yeah. It's pretty cool the places you get to go and see just because of a game you played as a kid and had dreams of getting there. But the opportunities that this game presents and still presents for young kids that are out there with ambitions of dedicating themselves to playing this game, it's one of the most rewarding things. And just travel that you wouldn't get otherwise is just one of those perks that comes along with it, let alone the friendships and the experiences and all the things you take out of it. But looking back on your career overall, we've touched on a little bit of when you got your start, some of the major teams that you played for, now into your national team career. But I got to pause for a second and just recognize some of the accomplishments that you've had. You're 7-time ISC champion, 5-time Canadian senior men's champion, 2-time ASA. You got the Pan Am Games and WBSC in 2015, pretty well giving you the career Grand Slam of all 5 rings that you can win in the sport. And I want to hone in on the 2015 year because I know how special that was for all of us, but in particular for you, getting to play at home. You knew it was going to be your last season in a Team Canada uniform, where you've been the face of the program for 15 years, developing and setting the bar. So when we went into that year, we've recounted a bunch of different aspects of that on our podcast here before, but you really led the charge from the player-to-player side of things. We knew we had a great opportunity. We were all disappointed coming off of 2013, where we didn't really live up to what we could have done down in New Zealand. But we set that goal very early on. Let's win two at home. Fast forward to the tournament in Saskatoon. Where was your head at going into that season, specifically around the Team Canada events? And for you, those were the 2 that you hadn't won yet in your illustrious career, so we know that there was a personal goal. Where was your head at, and can you walk us through those couple of months from your perspective?
Yeah, that's tough to go back and think where my head was at, because I actually retired after 2013. After that disappointing loss in 2013 in New Zealand, I retired. I didn't play ISCs or any ball that summer of 2013. And, I was thinking about this earlier, just about coming on the podcast. I'm not sure if just the 2015, if the ISFs or WBSCs were in Saskatoon, whether that would have been enough to come out of retirement. But when the Pan Am Games were announced to be in Toronto and that softball was going to be reinstated, because I had never played in a Pan Am Games with Team Canada. And I regretted that decision. I had the opportunity in 2003. But at the time, at that year, I was with the national team. I'd been with the national team for a few years and felt my place was pretty solidified. But Pan Ams were the same week as the ISCs.
I remember that, yeah.
And, several of us, most of the sort of core of Team Canada, we decided we played with our ISC teams and didn't go to the Pan Am Games. And at the time, I thought, you know what, I'm young, 2007, I'll go to the Pan Am Games. No big deal. I'll still get that experience. And then after 2003, they take, softball out of the Pan Am Games. So immediately when it's announced the Pan Am Games are going to be in Toronto in 2015 and softball's reinstated, I made a phone call to Johnny Stewart and just said, I want back in, what do I need to do? And he said, well, and I didn't want to come back just on my name. I wanted to make sure I could contribute and play. So in 2014, I played a handful of tournaments, played the ISCs, again, had a good ISCs and knew I could play and felt healthy enough to contribute. And, I really approached that year. And Lolly, we were in close contact, and Elsie as well, with the training and all of Team Canada. We made a real conscious effort with everybody to really focus on the training and improve that contact. Yeah. We're at a bit of a problem, in Canada, we're so far apart, we can't get together to train. So we really tried to bridge that gap as best we could. So I was really working my tail off. I didn't want to be the old guy. I didn't want to, come in with the bad knees. And, I worked my tail off to try to get myself, in shape and make the team. I really approached it like I was trying to earn a spot. And, so excited with that opportunity, because that opportunity to win both those events on home soil in the same summer probably will never come along again.
No, it was a perfect storm of an opportunity.
Yeah. So, just really excited, and I knew we had the team that could do it. And, I was just really excited to have that opportunity.
And same thing for ourselves, Ollie. Really, that was really our only opportunity for the Pan Am Games, because, we didn't qualify last go around, unfortunately. And, you are now retired from national team, and I don't know when the next Pan Am Games are. Another couple of years. I don't even know if softball's in it. I'm not sure. Where is it? Where are the Pan Am Games? Are they?
I don't know, Peru.
I'm not sure.
When was the last?
They were in Lima, Peru.
Yeah.
Argentina won in Peru, and I wouldn't even know. So that was my one and only opportunity. And I mean, I'd have to say that's probably the coolest, greatest tournament I probably ever played it. It was the closest that I'll ever get to the Olympics, and the whole experience, and then to win it on home soil was just insane.
There's a couple of Ryan Wolfe moments from that we'll call it 2 weeks from when the last day of the ISF to the last day of the Pan Am Games that really make me smile. So when we won and finally got to the top of the mountain after 23 years with Canada having not won a gold medal in 23 years, the respect from the New Zealand team towards you individually, when we were walking through the handshakes and you and I were very close in proximity to one another, walking through that lineup and seeing these legends on the other side with just that tip of respect. And I know they were devastated about losing, but they are former teammates, friends, and that level of respect that they showed for you is something that really stands out to me. And then when we got to have that huddle at the end, and you could just see it was almost like a weight came off all of us, but you in particular. It was a pretty special moment getting to see that, I don't know, crowning moment in your career. But the respect from New Zealand really stands out to me. Was that something that you took in or you're aware of?
Yeah, I did to some degree. Again, I've played with so many of the greats, from New Zealand over the years. But the one moment for me that really stands out was Mark Sorensen. And I only played with him for one season in ISC ball. But when I got to Mark and we shook hands and we had a moment, and he just said to me, he said, "Congrats, Wolfey, you deserve this. And now you can ride off into the sunset." Like, he knew it was the end of my career, and he knew that it was something I had worked for and battled him for on multiple occasions. But when he said, now you've got it, right off into the sunset, your career's complete. And that was really, I felt that a very nice gesture from
cool.
Mark. Yeah. One of the absolute greats of our game in that moment, obviously disappointed about the loss, but to redirect that to me, I really appreciated those words from Mark. So yeah, that was special.
Yeah, it was a class act move on there, and they've always done that. They don't lose a whole lot, so you don't get to see that side of them very much. No. But in that moment, that's something that I'll always respect and appreciate. But then we fast forward a couple of weeks, and we win the Pan Am Games at home. I'm sure you had a ton of friends and family that got to take in that championship game, that whole experience. And that's when you put the gold medal around your neck and your Team Canada career is done. But you think back to 2 years earlier when you thought your Team Canada career was done, coming back from New Zealand we didn't have that feeling that we had that day. So how special was that to have that medal on your neck? You got the two that you were hoping to get as a player, and then your Team Canada career got capped off the way any ball player, but especially you, could deserve to have it.
Yeah, that one was pretty special. You're right. I had a ton of family and friends. Megan was there, and Emma, Allie, and Garrett were all there. My parents, my brother, sister, they were all there, and to share that moment with them, because they sacrificed so much over the years. That's often goes unnoticed or unmentioned, but the number of weekends through the summer that I, was away traveling, and, the weeks that I left, to go play in ISF tournaments and those type of things, and Megan picking up the pieces and, raising 3 kids, here and taking on all that extra load. So to have them there, to share in that moment and to see your kids, I know you guys are young, young fathers, and to have your kids there and see you perform and see you do well and see what you're passionate about, it was really special. All my kids, we got them, some balls, and they were running around getting autographs. They've got their, signed by everybody on the team. And it was a really special moment to share that with everybody that sort of helped me, in terms of my family and friends, get me there. It was a great way to cap a career. And I've got a picture, and it's one of my favorite pictures. It's me. We were leaving the Pan Am complex, and I think Megan took it, and I've got Garrett and Allie on each side of me, and I'm dragging my ball bag, and my shirt's kind of untucked, but we're sort of walking off, and you can see sort of the sunset in the background. And it was very, just in terms of that moment, it was really captured the moment. I'm sort of walking off into the sunset and got my family alongside. So yeah, it was really cool. Yeah.
That's
like a movie, the ending of a movie,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Awesome. Just a perfect story, perfect way
Yeah.
to go out.
Yeah.
You probably got a ball field named after you too, did you?
No, I don't actually. No.
Oh, perfect. That makes
Yeah.
two of us.
Yeah.
I remember the episode we did with Opie Fairman. Lolly was talking about the field they named after him, and Opie was
Yeah.
talking about the field. I got
Yeah.
a hole in one at the pitching putt on Kenmount Road, and everybody got a fucking picture on the wall. Let alone a ball field.
Yeah.
Well, Hilly, you got one more crack at it, buddy. Me and Wolfey are going to be sitting back and looking at that. But
Please God, if everything goes all right with this Omicron stuff. But
Yeah.
we got one more crack.
yeah, well,
I got
hoping.
one more crack.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, you got guys that have been there that are just as invested in seeing the team win, and that's what I want to talk to you about now, Wolfey, is that transition into retirement as a player. We've talked to some of our idols and heroes and former teammates on that transition, and I know it's tough for some people. Others stay connected to the game through coaching or clinics and things like that. But I know there's guys that continue to reach out to you to get your advice, specifically around national team things. But you'll go down as, I don't know, the standard of how a captain should conduct themselves and should lead the team. And how did you approach that role of captain on the national team? And there's some guys now that are going to be just taking on that role for the first time in a Team Canada uniform. Because when I look at you, it's more natural, lead by example. But when you speak, people listen. But it was always backed up on the field through fitness, but also how you conducted yourself with class and held yourself accountable. How did you approach that role as captain, specifically within the national team? And do you have any advice to the next generation that are coming up trying to do the same?
Yeah, I would say I kind of, it wasn't anything I sought out, wasn't anything I wanted to be, I didn't, I want to be the captain of Team Canada. No, I wanted to, it was an honor to play for Team Canada, and I approached it that way, and I tried to come into every camp and every event in as good a shape as I could, worked hard, in every batting practice session or whatnot. And like you said, Lolly, I tried to lead by example. I wasn't necessarily the rah-rah guy or, talking all the time, but I felt, when something needed to be said, I would say it. And I think that has a little bit more impact, if you're not just constantly, going. And, I had the, I was fortunate to learn from or watch a lot of great leaders ahead of me. When I came into the national team program, you've got your Chris Jones, Colin Abbott, Brian Patton, Dean Holine, Todd Martin, all great leaders in their own way. And I just sort of, took a little bit of everything and felt what worked best for me. But ultimately I really just tried to come prepared and work hard every day. And people seem to appreciate that and respect that. And that's, I think, why the leadership role was given to me at the time. And I think also a lot to do with the culture that Team Canada was trying to create. We were, teams were catching up to us. When I started with the program, it was sort of Canada, New Zealand, maybe Japan were sort of the powerhouses, but then all these other teams started catching up and making changes and working on their fitness, and that was something that I always brought to the program. So I think as they tried to make a little bit of a change to the culture, what I was bringing sort of, matched what they wanted to adapt to. So I think that's sort of how it progressed. In terms of advice for anyone else, I don't know if I have any, great words of wisdom for people. You got to be true to yourself. You've got to be, if you're trying to be something you're not, people are going to see through that. You've got to be whatever works for you. I think, Lolly, you were part of the leadership group, when I was there, and obviously Elsie, is a great leader and a great captain alongside me. And I think our approaches, gelled and worked very well for each other, with each other. He's got a little bit more, that energy and that intensity, in a different way. And he's Elsie. He's, he was fantastic to bounce ideas off of. And, we became very, very close over the years. In your episode with Elsie, we were roommates a lot of the time.
It's better than Hilly, isn't he?
He's pretty good.
Yeah. You're lucky, Wolfey, actually, because if you had to have Hilly as your roommate, you would have retired probably 5 years earlier. You wouldn't even got to go to New Zealand, let alone
be careful, buddy.
Away.
Be careful. We're not done yet. Another couple seasons.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen, there's nothing you're going to throw at me now that I haven't seen already. So I still go to bed with the helmet under the bed. So we're good to go. But we knew getting you on here, Wolfey, it was going to be a lot of really high-level stuff that we wanted to talk about. But let's not kid ourselves for a minute. There's been a lot of funny moments over the years, but some at the same time, through those funny moments, it was impactful. But I just want to stay on the captain side of things for a second. And you didn't do it a lot, but when it was called for, you would hold people accountable. And I was privileged, I guess I would call it now, looking back, to have had that experience with you in 2008. I think it was at the ASA when I got kicked out of the championship game for striking out and yelling at the umpire. The way I remember it is the umpire blew the call and I flipped out. And I came back and he kicked me out of the game. And then I kept saying, I just muttered to myself, I don't care. And then you just stopped me dead in my tracks. You said, get over here. You said, you should care. You're a big part of this lineup and now you're not in it. And I was frozen. Right? So picture now from my standpoint, I'm 4 years old or ever, I don't know, 25 years old.
You're old enough to know better.
I was old enough to know better, but I was frozen. And it was one of those ones that it changed my outlook on how to play the game at a high level. Do you remember that encounter? Because it stuck with me from that day, and it altered how I approached the game.
Yeah, no, I do remember that moment actually, and, but it was significant, in the fact that we were in a big game. I think we were playing the Patsies. I can't remember exactly who we were playing, but yeah, you were a huge part of our lineup, and the way you were conducting yourself, and and whatever, you can get worked up, but when you said I don't care, that just set me off, and for whatever reason. Yeah, I had some words for you, but and I think after the fact, and I think I've heard this story before. You went to Bongo, Bob Baird was our trainer that year, and you were, kind of talking to him, and he said, he told you it's because I care and because I see what, you were capable of and what you were able to contribute to the team. So it wasn't just I was looking for someone to go at. There was purpose there, and.
Yeah, I saw that after the fact.
What about Mexico when he bit his helmet in the bits after getting thrown out of first base? Did you have any words of advice from there too?
No, I was too busy laughing that one. No one needed to say anything there.
No, that was a true walk of shame.
It sounded like he felt instant shame.
Well, I would have had to wait 5 minutes while he picked up all the pieces from his helmet. I was already out in center field warmed up before he got into the dugout.
Yeah, so we probably would have won the ASAs in 2008 if you had to say something in 2006. No, but anyway, that was so. I want to take this time to thank you for doing that. In all seriousness, it was a very defining moment for me in my career, and it couldn't have come from a better guy at a better time in a better way. So thank you for doing that. One other story from that year. Remember how tight that Kitchener team was? Whenever we would go back, and we talked about the poker and all that, and how I'm awesome at it, and everyone else sucked. But
we won't go there.
Yeah, but at the ISCs in Kimberley, and we talk about this story because there was a story about Elsie and G.O.A.T, but I want you to tell it from you tell it better than I do. But the 2008 G.O.A.T and Elsie story.
Well, I got to tell two G.O.A.T stories from 2008 because I think it was, and I think you've heard this story before. I think Marty maybe told the story, but we're playing against Mindak on the upper diamond, and Lucas Goring bunts one to G.O.A.T. He throws it out to you in right field and ends up on third. Next at bat, same thing, bunts it to G.O.A.T. Throws it to right field. He gets it third. And in that moment, for G.O.A.T. to walk up to Marty, he takes the ball. Next time Lucas Goring gets up, watch this guy. He's 2 for 2 with 2 triples. Like,
my
you could just see him. I could see him doing it. Like,
and just
so dry.
Dry. Like, yeah, exactly. So he deserves what was coming to him next. So, So if you remember, Lolly, in the final weekend, I believe, in our hotel down in all the conference rooms and everything like that, they had this sort of antique show, collectibles, all kinds of stuff. Place is packed with a lot of older people who are into those antiques and collectibles and all that kind of stuff. So we're coming down for a BP in the one morning, and Elsie calls me over. And they had a bulletin board sort of with all the rooms and where everything was and what you could collect. And Elsie points at this one piece of paper, like rare, antique, or authentic Canadian pins and buttons, room 613. So I don't think anything of it. And all of a sudden I'm like, that's Eider's room. So Elsie created this poster and pinned it up on the bulletin board. So anyways, we go to BP, we go back. And I think Jody's dad, Dave, was there, and the two of them were rooming together for the final weekend. So anyways, we don't say anything. And Jody comes down. We're heading, I don't know where they're heading to the park for the game that night. And Jody comes down and he starts telling the story. Yeah, so we're back in our room, and there's this steady lineup of people coming, knocking on our door, looking for all these pins, these rare Canadian pins. So, no, we had a lot of good times. But that prank that Elsie pulled on Jody was that was a classic.
No one knew it. You guys kept it to yourselves. And so when he came down and just the roar that went through, and Elsie's known for his pranks and jokes.
He loves a good prank.
He loves it, don't he? But that I think that one takes the cake for me.
Well, yeah, and he does, like you said in his episode, he just sort of sneaks away and does his thing, but he couldn't keep it in. He had to tell me. He had to tell somebody what he was doing, and oh man, that was classic.
Just a couple more things I had there, Wolfie, is, we talk about it all the time. Every great team has a great leader, and you're obviously one of them. Do you have an itch or a desire to ever throw your hat in the ring to be a coach, like national team or coach ISC level? Or I know your kids are still a bit too young, but
yeah, I think there
you ever think about it?
There is an itch there. Yeah. I've helped out, obviously I'm coaching my daughter's team right now in the summers. And I've helped Scott Searle. He's called me, to come help with Team Ontario. So I've gone down and done a few sessions and done some talks with them about base running and different things. There's an itch there. I love it. I have done some clinics, once I retired, I did quite a few clinics for a couple of years. COVID obviously put an end to that, but there's still some teams and some organizations that contact me. I've worked, the odd session with the university team, the Western Mustangs varsity, or the women's softball team here in London. Done some hitting sessions and stuff with them. So there's definitely an itch, but where I'm at right now, unfortunately, not unfortunately, I'm super happy. My kids are an age where, I'm watching them play sports and coaching them a lot. So I'm busy and really enjoying that. So to make the commitment, I would need to. I'm just not in that place. But maybe down the road we'll see what happens. But
cool.
Well, hopefully, the good thing is that we know you're always available, right? And that's what I'm trying to do now as well with the national team. Kevin Schellenberg just came on as the player rep.
Nice.
Having guys that have gone through, like Shelley's gone through, I think 5 or 6 ISFs, and there's an interest to stay within the program, and you can't replace the value that a guy like he can bring just to have bounce off from a player. It's fantastic that he's there. I talk to the coaching staff, say if there's anything in my own way that you can do, just give a call. And you've been doing that since you retired as well. And I think it's important for guys that have played the game at a level that you've had, even though maybe a coaching career isn't in the cards right now. There's the wealth of knowledge that's still there and the passion for the game, and it's great to see that you've been sharing that. I have 2 things. I knew this was probably going to be one of our longer episodes, it's fantastic to get you here and go through this. But you mentioned Eider, and when I think about you and your career, a lot of it is tied to Eider, especially some of the big moments. You guys played on Bow together. You played on Kitchener together. And I'm not sure if he was with the farm when you played there.
Yeah, he was.
He was. And you played on the national team together. And 2 of the best ball players to ever put on cleats. But in 2008, we talk about the 2008 championship game. Again, if people are sick of hearing it, I don't care. Here it comes. Because we got the man himself that went through it. And what you and Eider, and Blair and Patty and Marty and everybody did in that game. But that's one of the big Ryan Wolfe, G.O.A.T moments that stand out, not only to us that were there, but to the softball community at large. When you think about, I'll throw that game out there as one example, but when you think about your career playing with Eider, how was that?
Oh, fantastic. And you know, as you mentioned, the first time playing with me, playing catch, I still remember the first year Jody and we played a little bit together with the Gators, but again at the IC's 99, but not much. But when we got together, he joined Bo in 2003 when we sort of merged to become the Bo Spirit. And I still remember the first tournament in Utah. Jody and I are warming up, playing catch together, and we're both kind of like, have we played together before? It was kind of exciting for both of us, and we realized we had, sort of played a bit together in 99, but we were excited. We sort of had competed against each other in junior and stuff, but we were excited to play together, and such a talent, and to play so many years and roommates with Jody, and such a talent. And yeah, we had some big moments, me batting in front of him and him driving me in. A lot of my runs at the ISCs were easy because I was trotting around the bases because he hit one over the fence, or, what he could do on the diamond as a third baseman. Very few guys, if it was a sacrifice bunt situation, he would just be right in on top of it, get the guy at second so many times, and clutch hits. You think of Jody and you just think of clutch hits, clutch home runs. The bigger the game, the better he got. And the one in 08 was one of those. Yeah. Yeah.
He's a special ball player, 3-time ISC MVP, Team Canada for all those years, and the championships that he's won. It's he's, like you just said, he's a special talent.
Yeah.
Last thing before we go, Wolfie, is I got a couple of bones to pick with you. And we started the episode off, I was picking a bone with you, and now I'm going to end it by picking a bone with you. On behalf of Newfoundland, the whole province. 2010 Nationals, 2011 Nationals. It was your fault. It's your fault, along with some of these other guys from Ontario. In 2010, we were, as a province, we were kind of hitting our stride, right? And there's one game in particular, the one that stands out to me about 2010 Nationals. It actually wasn't against the team we were playing on. It was against Newfoundland 2. And so there's not a whole lot of Newfoundland 2 ball players that are Wolfey fans. We're trying to turn them around with this podcast here tonight, because you showed up, I don't know, had something going on that week, something busy, didn't get there for the round robin, shows in a playoff game. I think the Wheels touched down on the plane in the 4th inning. You show up in the 6th or the 7th, walk into the dugout, put on your uniform and your cleats, go in and hit a game-winning home run. So
explain yourself.
Explain yourself. Too. We got a lot of people listening to Newfoundland. Would you like to apologize, or would you like to explain yourself?
Well, yeah, I guess Cleary and Bowley might be the first two, because they were the battery in that game. Yeah, so I did have something going on that week. Actually, I was there for the first weekend, and
you went and left?
I went and left. Oh. So, anyways, just the way the school year played out. As teachers, we had to be in the school. Usually we start after Labor Day weekend. That year we had to be in the building the Wednesday or Thursday that week. So I talked to Holman about it, and I said, I'm not sure if I can make Canadians. He said, well, look, here's the deal. We can fly you home, and we'll fly you back for the final weekend. So I'm like, okay, no problem. I've got a flight out Friday morning. I'll get in, mid-morning, whatever, Friday. Playoffs will start Friday night. And assuming, we had a pretty strong team, we'd be there. And that was the year of the hurricane. I don't know if you remember.
Oh, we remember the hurricane. Well, the hurricane. Hilly remembers the hurricane.
So so I'm getting ready Thursday night, and then all of a sudden they make the announcement they're going to start, because of the hurricane coming in. It was going to hit Saturday. They're going to move all the playoff games up and start Friday morning. So now I'm going to miss the Friday morning game. We're playing Newfoundland 2. So again, Jody comes into the story. We're just about to land. We get on the tarmac, and we just land, and my phone buzzes, and it's a text from Jody during the game. He's like, it's 0-0. Cleary's shutting us down. Get here as fast as you can. You know? So
Bat signal goes out.
yeah. So I come off the plane. Jim Holman's waiting there for me. Megan's with me. We hop right into I don't know whether I ran into the washroom there and threw the uniform on. I'd left a lot of stuff there with him. So he had my ball bag and stuff. I think everything. I had my uniform. Raced to the ballpark, and I'm trying to get ready. And they're like, "You're on deck." And I'm like, "I don't have my shoes on yet." So anyways, one of the few times I was happy that the guy in front of me got out. So it ended the inning. So I had time to, get, cleared up. So actually I had 2 at-bats. My first at-bat, I hit a double and I got around to third.
First pitch.
And I got around to third. No, it wasn't. It was I think it was a 2-0 count. And I knew clear was coming the rise ball. And
there we go.
So I got a hit. I come around to a third and I'm on third. And then I take a big jump and the ball gets hit right at the third baseman. I go in, just try to make the throw. Boley blocks the play, I just destroy my legs. My knee was done. So anyways, I get up again in the 7th, I think now. Still nothing ball game. I get another 2-0 count. And I figured Sean's coming with a rise ball. And yeah, he came up and in, and I was able to barrel it up and hit it out for a walk-off, I believe.
Game over. Yeah.
Game over. Yeah.
Game over, tournament over. And you're back on the 777 assholes. It might not have been 3 sevens, but 7-7 was an asshole that day.
Yeah, it wasn't too popular.
And just then again in 2011, we talked about it on Red's podcast. We don't need to go back through all the details on that, but just that was a pretty special. I can call it special now that I can think back. We've won a couple now, so it doesn't sting near as much. But to see the way that team in 2011, the Kitchener team at the Nationals, struggled with not having all their top dogs there, but come in for a weekend, that team gels back together and capped off a pretty special 3-peat for the province and all the players on that team. But another Ryan Wolfe moment where you show up in clutch and get it done in the big games.
Yeah, no, and Marty came in on the weekend too in that one, and Red was hitting the ball, Vibsy was hitting the ball well, and we, as Marty said in the cast with you guys, we knew you guys were destined to win. Eventually, if we play that game 10 times, we maybe win it once or twice. You guys definitely had the good team, the better team. I remember Opie in his cast talking about hitting the ball. He almost took my arm off, in the outfield. The line drive he hit that, you guys were crushing the ball, just hitting it at guys. And we got fortunate enough to get the hits when we needed, and ours fell and yours didn't. And obviously, and you guys have gone on to win the next 30 seems like.
No, but it's the rivalries. It's just those games. They're special either way they go. You take something from them. It was great ball, right? Yeah. And I guess it's a way to cap off this episode, because when you think about Ryan Wolfe, you think about great ball player, widely regarded as the best to ever play. Definitely from the guys that came up in our generation. Been a real treat to get you on here and go through that. Can't thank you enough for coming on the podcast, sharing everything. I think our listeners are going to have a great appreciation for why we've looked up to you so much, why you've had such an impactful mark that you'll leave on the game of softball and the players, especially within Canada, play it. Thanks so much for doing this, buddy.
It has been my pleasure, guys. I love what you're doing. I love what all, Dino and Tosh and Donnie with the podcasts, and Framer and Hopi, and the outside the chute, and even, beyond the dugout, the New Zealand boys. I've loved the podcast, and they've really helped, through COVID to connect when we haven't been able to connect at the ball yard. And, I love listening to your podcast, all the guests you've had. Again, like you said, the stories, I've been a part of them or around them or heard them before. And it's just fond memories and seeing you guys. This is the part of the game that I miss. The weekend tournaments and some of that I don't miss, but the stories and the fellas and the big games, are what I miss about playing or about the game. So this has been great. I'm happy to do it, and want me to come on again down the road, I'd be more than happy to. So.
Yeah, and Wolf, just to add on what Ollie said, man, like your softball accolades certainly speak for themselves, but more importantly, you're a great friend, tremendous leader on and off the field. You're one of the best teammates that we've ever had. So it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on here tonight, buddy, and get to share the Maple Leaf with you.
Yeah, right back at you. Right back at you for sure, guys.
Well, that was a special one, fellas. We got Lucas and Nick here. A little bit of rum ragged to take us out.
Ladies man, but I'm a man now. For courting 6 girls all at once they use me. My mother said it was naughty, I should fix it back. But I said if it's naughty, sure it's also